ready to see that. Probably won't see that one. It's going to be the Rell hovered right now. Crisp has been exceptional on this Rell pick. I believe he's, or he was 100% win rate. I think that was shattered in their most recent series. But it is going to be, as you say, the Lillia for Beichuan, his most played in the LDL. Definitely a comfort pick for him. Wei goes with the Graves, and it's going to be Ming on the Alistar alongside Gala's Kaisa.
I'm curious to see how FPX react to this, though, because you can either fight fire with fire, which is what we're going to go with, or you can go for the range, but instead, that's Samira coming in. So a very strong bot lane for Lwx and Crisp, and one that I expect Beichuan to play pretty heavily through. And when we were talking about wanting to see Beichuan kind of working in conjunction with Crisp, this is the best way to do it, because Beichuan, at his heart, loves to gank. Like, it doesn't matter what the champion is, he wants to get involved in these lanes, he wants to be setting up these kills, and when you've got a kill lane in the bottom lane, such as the one for FPX, you can expect early action into this bottom lane.
Well, the Camille being banned away from Xiaohu towards the top side here. It's answered with a Renekton ban as well. Obviously, Renekton is a scary pick in the hands of FPX, because it could be for Nuguri, or it could be for Doinb. So taking that one off of the board. And over towards FPX. Things like the Gnar obviously can be banned, but Nuguri has really favored that Gnar, so wouldn't be surprised to see them open that pickup and allow that as a blind pick for Nuguri.
There's two big picks I'm looking at for this mid lane, though, and it's the Twisted Fate and the Rumble pick, because the Twisted Fate allows you kind of to cheat that priority that we were talking about, allow you to influence either the bot lane or the top lane here from both sides, and also the Rumble, because again, it just is so difficult to stop Rumble from being able to roam. And when we look at Doinb and also Cryin, who have got several games on that champion, this is a big one to see if they can have impact in those sides.
Silas has been removed, and they've got 4 seconds to make a decision. Their Kled ban comes through. That is some serious respect being given to Doinb there. The Renekton and Kled bans, don't be fooled, those are mid lane bans against FPX, believe it or not. And a Sion locked in, very expectedly going up towards that top side for Nuguri. Over to RNG then. What do they go for in the solo lanes here, Dags?
But I mean, you can look towards the Azir if you want to here for Cryin, pretty much the go-to in a blind situation, because it's so difficult to get priority against the likes of an Azir. And then looking towards that top lane, kind of the world's your oyster here, Xiaohu. And I never want to say like, yeah, Xiaohu will go towards this, because at the end of the day, Xiaohu's a mid laner. I never really know what this guy's going to bring out. We've had like Syndra's tops, we've had Akali's tops, we've had Orianna's top, but I mean, the Gnar has been his go-to. This will be his 7th game on the Gnar. And especially into something like the Sion, where you're not going to be under too much threat, you can push in this wave, effectively start to chip away at those turret plates. It feels very at home for Orange.
Oh, but Nuguri goes for the Jayce.
It's the Sion.
He is real good on these carries. It's going to be Sion, man. It's Doinb, let's be honest here. Jayce really good in the matchup against Gnar. And Doinb more than happy to just play literally any champion in the mid lane. All right. Mid lane side, I guess that's what we're doing today. Dagda, the draft has been spicy already. This series is delivering, and we're not even on to the riff. What are your expectations from these comps?
I feel certainly for FPX that there's going to be what we were expecting, like heavy focus on these side lanes, trying to obviously set up Nuguri just to get vision for him, make sure he's safe to go and battle against the Gnar. Jayce wants to be going aggressive against Gnar, so then you can punish that range advantage, but you need to make sure you've got the vision to keep you safe. Well, on the bottom side of the map, I'm overlooking to see if I can get Beichuan invested into this bot side, get some kills going for this Samira, while this Sion is just scaling out of control and trying to find moments of opportunities to use that ultimate to get into these side lanes and just double down on the pressure that FPX have already gained there.
That's the big thing we're looking for, is getting out of the mid lane and getting to the side lanes. One thing I will say about Sion is, yes, he's a tank, but when it comes to getting priority in the mid lane, Sion can one-shot a minion wave. Just walks up, E's, W's, Q's, minion wave is gone, and he can just go elsewhere. So Cryin might have a bit of a harder time bullying out Doinb in the mid lane than you'd maybe expect on face value. But that bottom lane as well, the 2v2 is going to be something to watch. Lwx and Crisp, very aggressive. Season 11 lane right there. There's Gala and Ming with some more classic champions, but just as aggressive. We're going to head on to Summoner's Rift, though, as we kick this series off the game of the week here between FPX and RNG. The battle for second place is underway.
And as we come into this, I am looking towards Wei. Wei has been, for me, the standout jungler and the standout performer in a lot of situations in RNG. He's been insanely good at being able to track the opposing jungler, figuring out, what does my opponent want to do? How can I shut that down and then activate what our game plan is for RNG? And in this situation for RNG, it is very much a role of containment. It's trying to make sure that, hey, Doinb doesn't get out of mid lane, Cryin is able to scale into the late game. Gala is able to scale into that later portion of the game as well, where Kaisa starts to just do more than the Samira in team fights. And especially towards Xiaohu in this top lane. If you can try and set Nuguri behind, maybe try and set up for some dives with like TP advantages and stuff like that, you can put this Jayce behind, and a Jayce from behind is pretty much nothing to offer to this team.
Ming going for the sweeper right at level 1 here, just to make sure he knows where Crisp is in case a level 1 2v2 does go off. And that's something we've seen a little bit in the LPL, especially with these Alistars. If the Alistar is with the Samira, quite often we see them just flash for a level 1 trade because of the synergy that you have on the CC. Crisp not going to go for a knockup just yet, though. Playing this one safe for now.
I'm keeping my eyes, though, on the junglers, because both junglers are pathing down towards this bot side, which is why you can see it's so tense here in this bottom lane. They both want to try and get that push. Both hit the level 2 first, because that'll guarantee them help towards Scuttle for the jungle.
It's all about the junglers in the early game. And we've got 2 farming junglers that are very, very good at making their way through the map quickly. One thing that can be said as well is Graves exceptionally good on the single target camp, so being able to start where the Gromp is and the Wolves is a much faster start for him than starting on the bottom side of the map. So you can see him already onto his chickens there, but similar story over for Beichuan, because he's the opposite side of the coin and he got to start the map with the chickens and the Krugs.
It does mean, though, as both junglers corrugate down here, that you've got push in mid for Cryin, you've got push and bot coming through for RNG, so it's going to be very difficult for Beichuan to actually try and get any of the Scuttle Crabs on this bottom side. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just wrap back up towards his top side, nick a Scuttle Crab himself, and then look for the reset. You kind of need to wait a little while as Lillia before you really can have a massive impact in these lanes. You don't really have the damage, you don't really have the CC to really have those big impacts, as Crisp goes a little bit too far.
Big trade in this bottom side. Crisp taking a lot of damage, Ignite burnt as well. Gala trying to get some free hits in on the back of the fight. Beichuan hanging in the wings just in case some kind of dive came on through. Wei is here as well. And FPX already feeling the pressure. Ming wants to go for this one. Jumps in, gets the stun onto Crisp. The junglers are here, but Ming is the target. And Beichuan enters the LPL in style. The double kill. He's bouncing along through the lane. And he keeps his movement speed going. Gala flashes out. But that's the way to make your entrance into the FPX.
And this is what we talked about for Beichuan, is that his mechanics are great, but he just needs someone to kind of guide him a little bit. You can see there, Crisp is like, hold your horses, lad. There is definitely going to be something coming down in towards this bottom side of the map. He stops the recall, turns the dive around, and now he's looking towards mid.
Cryin won't be tagged, though. He's just going to help Doinb shove this one in so Doinb can get himself a reset off. But, Beichuan was the giant question mark coming into this series. He's replacing the superstar rookie Bo. Beichuan's basically trying to say here, hey, I'm a superstar rookie too. I'm a streamer. I'm supposedly the best Echo in China, at least according to my chat viewers. And we'll see if he can live up to the hype around this player as he comes on in. He doesn't have the LDL accolades that Bo had, but so far so good for the new player.
Yeah, and Beichuan is definitely a confident player. Like, I was talking to Risa, who sent me a lot of information, so shout out to her on Twitter, because she was filling me in on, like, this guy considers himself, like, the first person to bring Echo Jungle to China. Like, this guy has got, like, he's a confident dude. So you can tell now that, like, already picking up 2 kills, he's going to be in his comfort zone. This is where this guy is going to shine. So I'm delighted to already see that even though Tien and Bo haven't been able to step into the roster, you've got multiple fallbacks here for FPX.
Doinb still never got his chance to reset earlier. Finally, we'll be able to head back to base, grab himself some more mana, finally get some items on the board. And once you start to get a couple of items as Sion, that's when it starts to get a little bit easier. The Sunfire certainly helping with clearing those waves. Or not Sunfire, you know what I mean. The Barmy Cinder will help him to clear the waves. And he just TPs straight back into the mid lane. And you can expect in the next couple of minutes to start to see Doinb getting out of that lane. Once he gets to that 6, he can really roam and start to impact these side lanes like we talked about before the game.
Well, he's already kind of doing that. You can see there setting up the vision down towards his bottom side, hovering on the blast cone. Ming trying to move topside, though, to stop the bleed that Xiaohu has against Nuguri.
Thing is here, Nuguri has a bit of movement speed, has flash, but he's just going to all in onto Xiaohu instead, and then flashes out to safety. It's going to be an ignite used by Ming, but a flash from Nuguri, so I think that's a win for RNG if they don't bleed out on the bottom side.
But this is the problem. They are bleeding. They're actually being
flash comes through from Lwx. Massively aggressive here because Wei is on this side of the map as well, and this could be a huge punish. Blade will stopping a bit of damage, but here we go. Gala grabbing himself a kill, and the rest of the team arrives for both sides. The TP from Nuguri is a little bit late. Gala could be in trouble if Nuguri goes a bit more aggressive. Shock Blast doesn't quite connect, and Nuguri's gone too deep, and he's pushed back into the fray by Cryin. Beautiful Shurima shuffle, and RNG are coming out on top in these scuffles.
Oh, it's messy from FPX. They'd actually got the big win there. The fact that Ming had gone towards topside, they'd shoved Gala away from the turrets, meant that they were winning heavily on the bottom side, but over-investing into the bot lane gets the kills for RNG. They get the TP from Nuguri as well, plus the kill. Like, that was a disaster.
Yeah, but Wei might have found his own disaster right here as Doinb just gonna be sliding across the map. Doesn't manage to hit onto anyone, but you know what? Again, it's the thought that counts, Dagda. That's what really matters. Is, they will at least secure the Skull Crab.
I don't know. Look, you can say the thought that counts, right? But I've just seen FPX blow every advantage that they had from Beichuan's playing the bottom side. Like, oh, hang on. Beichuan mid, actually.
Yeah.
No,
I want to find some new advantages in the mid lane. Yeah.
So they had this big CS lead and this wave push in the bottom side. They could have turned that in towards just turret plates, snowballing that advantage in the bot side, and just taking Gala out of this game. If Gala's got Ming, who's gone top side, and you're stealing away all this, you're losing all this experience, you're losing all this CS, you just don't get to hit the point where you're strong or even able to contend with Lwx. The fact that Gala managed to get back, get some of that CS, even get kills for himself, means he's actually even with Lwx right now when in the gold department, and you don't really get to control this lane as heavily as you could as of FPX, especially now that Doinb has tossed away that ultimate as well, not being able to get into that bottom side.
One thing I will say about what has transpired so far this game is when you look at the CS numbers across the board, it's feeling real good for FPX with a 20 CS advantage in that bottom side and in the jungle as well. As they look to grab themselves the first Herald of the game on top of that, they have control of the bottom side, so the Dragon can't be traded right now. Beichuan just going to take this opportunity to reset. It will be Wei starting this Dragon off. I was expecting a bit more of a contest. We saw Lwx and Crisp were over there, but Ming moves up, and this should be a Dragon traded. So Herald for Dragon. Wei did smite there. He's got a second smite available, so it shouldn't be the end of the world, and there's no contesting.
Yeah, FPX's focus right now is just completely shifted towards the top side. Get the Rift Herald. You'll probably see Beichuan go for this full clear on bot side, roam up towards top and use that Herald to just cement that lead for Nuguri, especially with the turret plates already being chipped away down by the Jayce. Doinb taking a bit of a beating in this mid lane. This ain't gonna let up anytime soon. Unfortunately, Azir is really good at poking even ranged champions. The fact that you're a melee into this lane is only going to make it 10 times worse.
I actually think that the fact that he's only 20 CS down is kind of an accolade almost in this matchup. I feel like it's pretty difficult to get anywhere near the mid wave if you're playing Sion mid, but I mean, let's be honest, I'm not exactly an expert in Sion mid. Who is? I guess Doinb. I think he's the only one in the entire world, so actually, yeah, we'll see how that continues to pan out.
Militza in the LEC is a big Sion mid player.
Oh,
I'm going to leave that as a little nugget of information for folks. When he was in EU Masters, he played a lot of Sion mid. But either way, coming back to this game, well. I want to look at Ming. Ming has been doing a really good job of trying to shut down the plays that we're talking about to solidify this lead for Nuguri in top lane. But the problem is that, like, he hasn't really been able to find big advantages for Xiaohu. And it's hurting Gala quite a bit to consistently have Ming out of lane. Even when it looks at like the levels for Ming as well, it's not going great. And this is the problem that I've seen with RNG, is that when they start to fall behind, they try to go for these plays that catch their opponents unaware, whether it's like picks in river or in mid lane, or having Ming consistently roam top. They did this a lot against Invictus Gaming, but it doesn't always pan out for them. And it's kind of this coin toss to a certain extent, where if it works, it's great. If not, you end up just further behind, and you're starting to see the results.
Swirl Seed is blocked by a caster minion there. Had that landed onto Ming, it could have been a really big opportunity, but Herald going to be just slammed down in this bottom side. Beichuan going to help shove this in, and they're looking for a first tower of the game if they can find it, but might be a bit of a challenge. No reinforcements coming for RNG though, so they might just have to back away and respect the 2 versus 3. Beichuan's going to stick around, and Lwx will be able to finish this tower off. What happens on the other side of the map, though, is Wei looks for an opportunity on the top side.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if Wei would get anything, though. You can see Nuguri is firmly under his tower. He's perfectly happy to just farm from afar, and even has the ward there.
Nuguri's just like, all right, 1v1 me, bro. Let's do this. I'm quite happy to take the skirmish against Wei. We'll be able to survive. Pushes Wei away a little bit, and maybe can just clear the wave underneath the tower.
FPX have been doing a really good job of reading RNG though, and this is why they're able to commit members bot side without losing anything across the map. Apart from that one flub trying to dive that bottom lane tower, they've actually been answering everywhere that RNG is positioned. Ming roams towards that top side. Cool. Let's push this wave in bot. Let's use this Rift Herald, get some gold in favor of Lwx, and get this Samira snowballing, because Samira is going to be one of their big sources of damage and a potential win condition in these team fights. So with the Samira now having that 20 CS lead, having a full turret to herself, she's going to be accelerated towards that Immortal Shield bow.
And one of the crazy things that's happening so far this game, when we look at the gold difference right now, it's 2,000 almost in favor of FPX. And the crazy thing about that is so much of it is down to Beichuan. When you look at these junglers, Beichuan ahead in the kills, but also 20 CS up. Wei is an exceptional jungler. This is not the kind of guy you expect to fall behind, especially on a farming jungle like Graves.
Yeah, and to give them their credit, I mean, Beichuan turned around that first play, the tower dive from RNG in the bot lane. From that, he's just taken control, working very heavily with the bot lane to just solidify these leads. And it's fantastic to see that once again, it's these rookie junglers from FPX coming up and joining in with the veterancy that is on this roster. Like 4 world champions. It becomes a lot easier for you to kind of take off the pressure that's there, because you know these guys can perform, and it gives him the opportunity to figure out how he wants to play the game, and he's doing so well so far.
Feels like Ming is in a permanent 2v3. Wherever he goes, Crisp and Beichuan match him with a random laner as well. Wei now could be in a 1v1 with Nuguri. Does have a Kaisa nearby, knocked back. And in comes Gala, but the flash over the wall from Nuguri! And he gets the solo kill, 2v1. Unbelievable. Now Xiaohu will be slept underneath the tower. Lwx pops that one maybe a little early as they go for this extended dive. 300 HP on Xiaohu. They're quite happy to just wait for another wave. Cryin has to use his ult defensively, flash over the wall, and RNG in full retreat because Gala on the other side of the map is just desperately trying to get some plates.
It will be answered, as you said, in that top side, as you can see Lwx would get it. Beichuan trying to steal away the chickens to get a little bit more for FPX, but wasn't quite able to do so. It's still great for FPX, though, because with Nuguri trading that 1-for-1, the play pretty much goes even as the turret plates fall away.
Beautifully done by Nuguri to find an opportunity there. Every single time Wei tries to gank Nuguri, Nuguri just swaps to hammer form and just flies into the fray, tries to 1v1 Wei before whoever's in lane against him can match. RNG, though, will find themselves a second Drake off the back of all of the shenanigans that have been going on so far this game. Nuguri just shoving out. Will have to retreat on the bottom side. Resets across the board. Let's take a second here, Dagda, and take stock of what's happened. Because RNG have got 2 Drakes, whereas FPX, focusing on different objectives, have a 2-tower lead for themselves and a 2,000 gold lead as well.
And potentially 2 Rift Heralds as well, because this Rift Herald is going to be spawning now. You've got the faster resets coming through from FPX. They're moving over to try and take that objective. And with this composition FPX has, it's very much focused kind of on this 1-4 with Nuguri being a side lane threat. So focus on the Rift Herald and towers is actually going to net them a lot more because they open up the map, they buy more space and more vision for Nuguri. And this Jayce isn't going to fall off. Like, this isn't a matchup that Gnar is ever going to just scale into. This is permanently in favor of the Jayce because of the range discrepancy, because he can poke so effectively, especially with the tier that Nuguri's picked up so far. So expect with this mid lane tower bet to go down, that FPX can now split open and allow more time for Nuguri to play into this 1v1.
RNG do finally get their first tower of the game though, but with the Herald charging in, this tier 1 not quite going down, but you can expect FPX to be able to finish that one off when they finally get an opportunity later on into the game. Doinb coming from the top side here, maybe looking to make a play, but he's perhaps overextended. Does have flash if he wants to just ult out of the play, but he's not going to waste... Oh, wait, he did use his ult during there somewhere. I didn't actually see what happened there, but Beichuan looks for a hit onto the tower. That's a little bit greedy, Beichuan. You got to back away, my friend.
Yeah, that was a series of unfortunate events. So you get the ult from Doinb actually running straight into Wei. So Wei able to stop that one from following up, and then Cryin not quite able to connect with the ultimate. So 2 whiffed ultimates. Now the TP coming in from Doinb once again. FPX committing heavily towards this mid lane tower because they see Gala in the top side.
And this will be the last tier 1 cracked on the side of FPX. They've opened up the map for themselves. And just in time, because the next Drake is up in 3 minutes. And that one's going to be important. This is now where FPX have to start to contest these Drakes. They can't just trade them away forever.
The big thing as well was in that last scrap, Xiaohu used his TP, was interrupted by Nuguri as well, so they're not going to have that TP available for this dragon. Whereas when you look towards Nuguri, his will, I think, actually no, it won't quite be up, but if you can delay it for FPX a little bit of time, you can certainly commit to that, or even just use the fact that Nuguri can shove in these long lanes now to creep him over towards this dragon and have that man advantage as well. So definitely FPX in the driver's seat, and it's not so much for FPX about like getting these dragons, it's more so about preventing RNG from having a place to fight. If RNG can find these 5-man fights where Xiaohu can get the big engage, you got Cryin and Gala free hitting, that's where RNG are most dangerous, and exactly how FPX don't want to play them.
Okay, so avoiding these fights. So in that situation, is there a way for FPX to actually get a Drake? Because theoretically, RNG could just group up, right? And just say, hey, look, if you want this Drake, you got to 5v5 us. And if that happens, maybe FPX fall out of the game.
I think the best bet here is to try and stick Nuguri up towards this top side. See if you can create this long lane where Nuguri can push in. He can then move down towards through river in towards the dragon and make sure that you've got this man advantage. Because ideally it's Xiaohu or Cryin who are trying to deal with that. But this is still a little bit difficult because even in the split push, Cryin still has his TP where there's none available for FPX.
Doinb is doing something. As it looks like he's going to commit to this play on towards Cryin. Cryin just zips away. He's, I'm sure, some question mark pings thrown at Doinb there. I have no idea what the goal was, but there we go. Nothing going to come of it in the end. Doinb just going to reset, and Cryin will be able to finish this tower off. Look where FPX are on the map, though. All the way as far deep into that jungle as they could possibly go. Getting some deep vision, because Drake is up in 45.
Yeah, I don't think RNG needed to commit with Wei and Ming towards the top side here. They should have been defending that vision in their bottom side jungle now. Actually, no wards really in the FPX inventory. It means that they don't actually have a huge amount of information as to where RNG are. But a late resets coming across, as you can see from Cryin, means they're going to have to burn this TP to get Cryin in and try and fight this 5v5 for this next dragon.
But Doinb doesn't have TP or his ultimate available, so it becomes very difficult for him to get over there. He's having to walk, and you can see Lwx was just on red buff. RNG can surely just burn this down long before FPX can ever answer.
Yeah, unless you can get some big damage sticking from Nuguri here. Otherwise, like, actually, it's gone. Like, they're not even going to get to go for the fight.
Well, they just want a 5v5 anyway. Doinb, for the second time this game, is just going to slide down that route. Chris comes in with a couple of magnets, but unfortunately, they've run out of stick. And he's just going to fall apart in front of everybody. Sion doesn't manage to find the knock-up. Here we go, triple sleep coming through. Beichuan wants to extend the fight, but FPX just can't find a way in right now.
And that's the problem. If Doinb isn't able to find that engage and you're starting to move in towards these jungle paths, it's so easy for Cryin and Gala to sit in the back line. They have the Emperor's Divide to keep them safe if anyone in FPX really tried to engage on top of that, and they're just poking you out. You've got to walk through Ming, you've got to walk through all these Sand Soldiers, way pumping out damage in this AoE cone. Like, that's a perfect spot for FPX.
Really, really difficult fight from
RNG.
FPX and for RNG, yeah. Really difficult fight from FPX. They're now just under 1,000 gold ahead. Their lead was far more significant gold-wise earlier on in the game, and it's Infernal Soul point for RNG. This is looking good for the boys in gold. And FPX, I mean, they had already lost the Drake. Maybe you don't brute force this. It was a bit of a botched fight, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a Hail Mary play. I think FPX kind of realized now that they're in an awkward situation where this next dragon is going to come up. They will have the TPs at least to try and play the map a little bit better, but certainly they need to be as a 5-man unit at this next dragon. Otherwise, FPX, with the amount of just damage and how powerful this Infernal Soul is going to be for them, there's very little that FPX can do to try and fight against it.
Yeah, RNG on the cusp of that Infernal Soul, and it would really turn things on its head. And I have to say, while the kill count is low, this has been a tense game. This has been a very close matchup so far, where we're seeing these two teams playing through intelligent macro instead of just trying to scrap at every given opportunity. And it's an interesting look, especially for FPX, which is a team that so far this split, the way we've kind of categorized them is almost as a boxer, right? Taking a lot of small hits, looking for a weakness, then taking one huge blow that blasts this game open. Feels like on both sides of the board, that's the way this has to go. RNG, that window is at the Dragon in 2.5 minutes. FPX, we're still yet to find where that weakness is on the side of RNG.
It felt like both teams ended up kind of dodging haymakers in the early game, with FPX and Beichuan making this play down towards bot lane, then RNG turn around the FPX play. Now FPX trying to go desperate mode with Xiaohu on bot side. They've started up this Baron.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a controversial call, honestly, as Crisp just going to be trying to clear minions. 5,000 on the Baron. TP being channeled. RNG happy to go for a 5v5 here, and FPX are going to allow them exactly that situation. Doinb taking a lot of damage from Xiaohu, but they reset. They got the TP from Xiaohu. They avoided the fight. Beichuan gets a bonus blue buff on top of everything. That's a little boon on the back of the Baron play. I can't think of another beat.
Well, look, cast your minds back to what we were talking about, right? These TPs and having Nuguri playing off in the side lane is how FPX in this 1-4 can try and win out this game. Well, you've now burnt the TP on towards Cryin, the TP on towards Xiaohu, and with this long lane and bot side, Nuguri can now shove in, he can do a lot of work, so it's on RNG now to try and shove out mid, shove out top, and make sure that there's not the opportunity for Nuguri to try and make some pressure in this bottom side of the map before the dragon spawns. And with top lane already shoved in, RNG instantly move towards this mid lane.
Yeah, you can feel that they need to start to accelerate things now. They can't afford to give Nuguri time in this bottom lane, but they're not going to start this Drake off just yet. Mid lane is neutral right now as the waves have been cleared. Doinb can just move up and clear the wave top. And Nuguri gets to shove under in this bottom side. Halfway done on that tower. And Drake coming up in 50 seconds. So RNG can't commit too hard to this top side because they've got to be ready. They've got to get some vision down because this Soul could win them game number 1.
The thing is, though, RNG have played so heavily towards this Baron that they're actually not resetting. So with Xiaohu having to clear that bot side, now Cryin re-pushing out that top wave, there's no TPs and they haven't backed. So RNG, they're not even going to consider this dragon. They instead just want to use this opportunity to get some vision on the Baron, maybe even start it up for themselves.
So FPX the ones with a positional advantage for the Drake right now. And it could be that RNG have to give this one up. I wouldn't have been surprised to see them try and trade Drake for Baron, but FPX not going to be foolish enough to go for that one. Doinb, this is the nice thing about having a Sion on your team. You can face check every single time. He is so tanky. He's practically invincible. And Nuguri, in the meantime, can quite happily solo out this Drake. Way's moving over, though. Has Smite, has his dash available. This has been spotted. Nuguri has to be careful. We need Beichuan here for the Smite. Spot onto Way. They can put him to sleep if they need to, but They don't need to for now. They're going to use that to try and find a pick. Instead, Doinb moves in, knocks up, gets the combo flash from Wei, though. Keeps self alive. Doinb happy to be the front line, happy to be the target. Chris comes in with the Magnet Storm, and the rest of the team to follow. Stuns across the squad as Xiaohu falls to the shock blast of Nuguri. LWX just about surviving. There's a lot of damage, though. Gala comes in to try and make the play. The Blade Wheel blocks so much damage. LWX life stealing on the red buff, and the re-engage comes through. Knocked in is Nuguri as he falls, but LWX with another kill. It's 2 for 2, and both teams walk away wounded.
Yeah, both teams stumble away. That was bloody on both sides, but RNG definitely getting the advantage there, and that was what we talked about, is in these jungle corridors, RNG's composition can thrive, where you've got Cryin and Gala perfectly safe behind their front line. Many opportunities for Xiaohu if he can get that ultimate off. Wasn't able to get it this time. So FPX, they almost find the pick. They almost get the fight that they wanted to turn over towards this Baron, but unfortunately not quite able to get the nail in the coffin there.
And really importantly, FPX have bought themselves another 5 minutes with this Drake. But again, really trying to force these long-range engages by FPX.
And, I mean, it could have worked out if the rest of FPX were in position, but you can see there that even with Doinb coming in for the ults and the knock-up, the rest of FPX are only now getting into position where they can fight. So, but at that stage, RNG have regrouped. They've actually forced or at least set themselves up in the phalanx, so you can't actually get past them. And look at Gala. Like, Gala and Cryin this whole time are just know they're safe behind the Emperor's Divide, know that they can't really be touched. And when Gala gets that opportunity, he flies in and starts to get that damage down onto FPX.
Yeah, Nuguri sees an opportunity to go in. Cryin punishes that, but then Cryin ends up trading his own life because he had to go in to get that Emperor's Divide. Gala and Cryan's flashes both on cooldown for this next fight. In fact, when you look at RNG, 4 flashes on cooldown, whereas LWX will have his. Nuguri, Beichuan, they all have flash available. So if a fight happens in the next couple of minutes, you can see a bit of an advantage, a bit of a window for FPX if they could find that skirmish. Baron is that window potentially. Baron could be the objective to force the play. Recall comes through, though, at the last possible second from Ming, and he gets out with his life.
There is the opportunity for FPX, though, because you've got Doinb on the super tank, to just start up Baron, try and see if they can bait out these TPs once again. And actually kind of looks like they're considering it here. Although there is that ward just at the pit there that will spot them out. Chris, nice job catching that. So again, FPX trying to force these numbers advantages by bullying RNG into committing these TPs early.
Let's be honest, Dagda, this is the LPL. We don't care about the Baron, we care about the blue buff. And Wei is the real champion at the end of all of this. Ming taking a bit of a hit, but let's be honest, Doinb not the biggest hitter in this team composition. One thing that I think we have to importantly point out here is that the teleports are back for RNG. So that window of opportunity we saw before around the Baron for FPX doesn't exist right now unless they can force a TP out of Cryin and Xiaohu, which is a tall order.
Yeah, and again, that's why they're hovering around this Baron. Nuguri, though, will have advantages in this bot side, but with FPX resetting, again, RNG getting control of this Baron area. And this is the dance now. This is going to be the back and forth as both teams are waiting for the other team to blink so they can get these advantages.
Take me to the ballroom, Dagda. I'm ready for a dance. And FPX, they're like, all right, let's kick this one off. It's a bit of a salsa, as the pace of the game is starting to speed up. 6,000 on this Baron. Ming is trying to get in, spots it out. There's Doinb trying to engage the fight, trying to buy time as the Baron is taken, flashes out for his own life, goes into zombie mode. As the cranberries sing in my ears, but it is going to be FPX trading just a death of their mid laner for a Baron buff.
And I love this. Nuguri didn't go back towards bot side. It was like, look, I've got that push. This is where we can use the fact that Xiaohu needs to be in bot lane right now. They move him to the fight without the teleport. It does mean, though, that you're going to get a trade for towers here, as RNG will be able to get this mid lane turret down. But honestly, as FPX, you're delighted with that because it buys you so many opportunities to continue Nuguri's side lane dominance and put some pressure down in this mid lane as well.
Yeah, LWX actually, or Crisp, sorry, actually managing to defend that mid lane tower. But now, importantly, with that Baron, you have so much priority in these lanes. They can shove out in the mid and in the bot lane and set up for this Drake that's coming up in 15 seconds.
Yeah, TP coming in from Doinb as well, making sure that he's back in place for this. So again, RNG, they're trying to call the bluff, say, right, if you go towards Dragon, we don't care. You're only on one dragon right now. We're going to use it to get your mid lane towers instead.
Well, they'll be able to take one at very least. Doinb taking a bit of damage, but he's happy to be that front line and block it. Dragon taken now, and FPX, they're happy with a tier 1 for a Drake at this point in the game. That's 2 Infernals on the trot, and that damage, even without the soul, is going to start stack up. Infernal Drake is one of the best ones that you can stack a lot of. Now it's their turn to go for some pushes. They've got the Baron buff and an inside track in the mid lane. Cryin taking a bit of damage, but he walks away with his life. Mid lane tier 2 taken by FPX. And guess what? There's a wave already prepped on the bottom side. This is the macro that we always talk about with FPX, as they start to clean up some standing gold and they extend their gold lead on the map now to about 4,000, 3,000.
This is a very much a slower pace of FPX though, and it feels like it's much more because they're trying to play around the side lane and play around Nuguri. It's all about trying to burn, as we talked about, the summoner spells, the TPs out of Xiaohu, out of Cryin, and use the man advantages that they have across the map. It's not like this very quick, okay, 5-man move into dives, into like trying to orchestrate all these damage and fighting plays. This is a much slower pace, and it's paying off for FPX, because as we saw, straight up 5v5s, they aren't as clean cut for FPX, but this map movement, using the Jayce, using Doinb's TPs to cut off RNG, is working far better for the FPX roster.
So let's take a moment here, as we're beyond now the 30-minute mark. This Baron is going to fall off FPX. We're not going to Drake for another 3 minutes. But that might not stop us fighting here, as Ming takes a big old shock blast from Nuguri. I think both teams will back away from this play. The last 5 seconds of the Baron, I don't expect many towers to go down from this one, but actually FPX do have a cheeky window on this top side here. Lwx and Nuguri together will be able to finish off a tier 2. So that means now RNG have 3 outer towers remaining. They are locked into their base when it comes to standing territory. But I want to quickly address the topic of potentially scaling as Beichuan. Every time I try and bring up this topic, Dagda, they're going to start fighting. Maybe this is the topic I needed to talk about the whole time. Talk to me about scaling,
I get where
though.
you're coming from. Yeah,
We've got lethality
because you've got these here, you've got the Kaisa. Yeah, that the 4v4 definitely is in favor of RNG, but the fact that you've got this Jayce means that Xiaohu always has to try and deal with it. Maybe it's Cryin who always has to deal with it. And that's why FPX are trying to avoid these team fights, because they know if we get into team fights, RNG are just too big right now. So they're trying to play the map state and force RNG into these awkward positions where they're making these terrible calls, or at least trying to force them to make terrible calls, and get advantageous moments for FPX. And I think this is really interesting to see, because FPX as a team, like, this is uncharted territory for them. Like, they have the fastest win time in the LPL. They win their games at about the 28-minute mark in most cases. This is a very different style where we're not getting the blood, we're not getting the very fast pace. They're looking to slow it down and play a different style.
They are getting a pick onto Crisp, though, and it's going to be the ult committed by Xiaohu. 1 for nothing in favor of RNG, but unfortunately for them, no neutral objectives for another minute and a half. So Crisp, sorry, would be back on the map. Doinb going to look to try and clear this wave. He is Sion, so he can't step up that far to get his combo off onto the wave. And actually, this is kind of hard. Without a significant mid laner, without a mage to clear these waves, that is a lot of damage from Nuguri onto Cryin. Half of his health bar in a single accelerated shock blast, and it is a tier 2 in the end for RNG. They will have to reset off the back of that one, but a pick into a tower, it's a nice little play from RNG.
Yeah, and this is the problem. If FPX actually don't get maps control... Oh, nice little Zhonya's there from Cryin. I mean, he's going back to buy Zhonya's now anyway. So I'm sure he's all good. But either way, coming back to this point, if FPX don't have control of the map and they can't actually be the ones who are using the tempo, they have to draw Nuguri back in to be part of the 5-man unit, because he, as you pointed out, right, B-Munch, is the only real wave clear here. Everyone else has to go pretty short range to do it, and against the likes of an Azir and even Xiaohu on this Gnar, that's not what you want to do. So FPX kind of have to go with this push-pull style, as Nuguri might have found Ming.
Well, wait is there as well. Nuguri is going to be eradicated. Huge pick once again for RNG. That's 2 picks in a row, and now into the fight we go. Remember, Cryin accidentally used his stopwatch. If he goes down, he doesn't have that Zhonya's. He went for a needlessly large rod. So he is vulnerable. FPX, it feels like they've consistently been playing 4v5. They do not have any side lane threat. The Baron goes down. They're moving over towards this Drake, but they're going to be late on the play. Sleep could be used to try and buy time here, but looks like that's going to be held for now. As the team of FPX moves towards this Drake, they've got to burn this ASAP before RNG can arrive. Looks like they will get the Drake for themselves. That's 3 on the trot now. And it looks like RNG will allow the reset. We don't quite get the fight. And FPX holding on by the skin of their teeth in these situations.
Yeah, and there was no wave mid either, so it wasn't like RNG could push them out bot and try and bounce back with that Baron to clear that mid inhibitor. So FPX just about managed to eke away from that one with 3 dragons for themselves. Now though, this wave clear again gets called into question because you've got a Baroned up RNG who are pushing out these side lanes. They're the ones in the driver's seat now, and they can look to crack open the base of FPX.
It's getting tense here, Dagda, because gold is almost exactly even. It's 3 Drakes apiece with an Infernal Soul coming up in 4 minutes' time. RNG have a Baron. They don't have the best team when it comes to 1-3-1ing, but they can certainly use the Baron to brute force a couple of towers if they group up. And once again, to reiterate something you were saying before, this is very much a game of FPX trying to outplay on the map. They can't just go for the 5v5, but as I say, that Doinb walks in, takes a huge amount of damage, but they will be able to clear this minion wave and stop the play onto the tier 2. That cannon is going to be annoying, though. Shock Blast will deal with it. Xiaohu, by the way, is in the mid lane. Gets the demolish off onto the tower. Won't quite finish that one off, assuming that these minions are taken down. But that will open an opportunity on the bottom side for the tier 2. RNG doing a really good job of playing multiple lanes with this Baron, and now they look towards inhibitor towers. Ming has to be careful, and Doinb forces the fight, goes in, has to flash straight back out. The Magnet Storm comes in across the team, though, and this is the moment for FPX. Lwx in like a Beyblade, turns golden and keeps himself alive. FPX, oh, beautiful snipe from Gala to turn it around, and another snipe comes back from FPX. It's sniper warfare here on the Rift, and suddenly Xiaohu's alone in the world.
But that is such a big win for FPX. The fact that they managed to hold on to their inhibitors, they're able to force back RNG, get some control back in this game off of a beautiful engage from Chris. Once more, this pick of the Rell paying dividends for FPX. You're going to see it here where you get Ming flash in with this big pulverized combo as Doinb overextends, but this Rell Magnet Storm stops the follow-up from Wei, locks him in place, and sets up beautifully for Doinb to annihilate that front line, unleashing Lwx onto the very lonely back line of RNG.
Beautiful snipe on the end as well from Gala, but then immediately answered by Nuguri. That's 1,000 gold that Nuguri just got.
Oh.
Check out his items. He's full build, and he has a Serpent
Fang. Yeah, and I'm only just looking to kind of go, okay, well, I mean, we have some shields that are coming out from, like, the Killer Instinct, even from Cryin having the E as well as giving him some. The Sterix Gauge, I don't think is on Xiaohu. I could be wrong with that. I'm pretty sure he's gone full tank after the Stride Breaker, but there are some shields there. Not a huge amount, so I'm kind of surprised to see the Serpent Fang, to be honest. But I'm trying to rack my brains as to kind of what you would finish out with. Maybe an Edge of Night, but or even actually, I wouldn't mind a Cerilia's Grudge here. Maybe even a bit of slows, but I don't think you're getting full value out of the Serpent's Fang right now.
He's maybe just looking to one-shot Gala. Maybe that's the game plan there. He's like, okay, Killer Instinct can't save you now, buddy. I don't know, but I'm excited to see it, because I think this is the first Serpent's Fang I've actually seen in competitive this year.
Yeah, one of the big things, just a reminder to folks about Serpent's Fang, is that, like, if, say, you get the excess damage that's done onto a shield and the shield evaporates, that excess damage does go onto the person. So it goes onto the health bar. So you actually get like a decent amount of burst out of it. So certainly when you're looking towards these more squishy members, that Serpent's Fang will do a lot of work if they have a shield attached to them.
Hold that thought, Dagda, because Xiaohu is about to turn Mega and he's trying to find a way into this fight. Flash available, but it's denied. 40 seconds on Infernal Soul, Dagda, and FPX are trapped in the base right now.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have a very short game. The fact we're 40 minutes of staring down the barrel of either team getting this Infernal Soul. And honestly, with RNG having this control, I don't see how FPX can test this. You're walking blind into so many members of RNG, so many opportunities for Xiaohu to look for these big Gnar ultimates. This is the danger zone for FPX.
Nuguri has TP available. Doinb more than happy to be the one face checking. Crisp has been blown up before this game, and it might just happen again. Blade will keep him alive for now, but the Ignite is there. The collateral damage, in they go, and Lwx is down. This is the moment for RNG to put their foot down in the LPL and try and finish this first game off. They win out the fight, and they do not move towards the Drake. They move towards the Nexus.
They know that the FPX are done for. We said you cannot walk through here as FPX, and Crisp is standing side by side with Doinb. He gets caught up in the ruckus, goes down, and RNG will take game one.
Nuguri's in trouble, has a GA though. Xiaohu trying to make this dive happen. They're trying to end the game. It's 2v5 and make that 1v5. Nuguri's alone, and he's slammed into the floor. RNG say enough is enough. They take out FPX with a 5-0 ace, and they win out game number one.
A magnificent performance from both these teams in this game, standing toe to toe, throwing everything that their compositions could offer in the hopes that they could get an edge. But with RNG stacking these early dragons, able to force FPX into these team fights, it spelt disaster for FPX. As these team fights started to rack up, they couldn't keep control of the map. The lack of wave clear on their composition started to hurt them, and then it all blew open at the eventual soul fight.
And you know, I was expecting this to be a really fast-paced, like really excited, super close game and of just battling in the mid game, right? But we saw a really slow, really tense, macro-focused game, and we saw intelligent trading across the map from both teams. And it felt like in the very early game, it was FPX winning out on those trades, but RNG over time managed to eke out enough advantages to close this one out.
Yeah, and a lot of that came down to the fact that Way prioritizing these early dragons, and even when you don't have the given priority on bot lane, he was finding some nice timing windows with FPX putting a lot of their resources elsewhere, like we talked about towards these early Rift Heralds. So he'd already knocked 2-3 off, and then from that perspective, RNG can use the fact that FPX are investing time in towards these dragons to then get pressure elsewhere. They knock down the mid lane turrets. They're starting to get deeper vision. They're starting to figure out where FPX are moving. And it was that slow method, like you can see on the go graph there, how long and how close this game was. And unfortunately for FPX, just two of these fights go astray. And from that point, RNG get into the driver's seat and take back this game.
And you can see what I mean about the gold difference, right? FPX had the advantage in terms of gold for the vast majority of this game. And they were doing a good job of playing around the fact that RNG had Soul Point, playing around getting those Infernal Drakes later on in the game. But RNG, at the end of it all, had the better team fight, consistently finding picks onto players like Crisp. And those individual picks opened up the map for RNG, gave them leverage and ways to extend their own gold lead, and ways to extend the lead that they had in control of this game.
And it was very well played by RNG. I mean, we had that initial flub from them where they tried to dive onto his bot lane. It was answered by Beichuan, but from that, they kind of took a step back, reevaluated where they were and said, right, how do we actually win this game? And again, coming back towards Way, he was like, look, if we want to find these fights, we need to get dragons. That's the only way we're going to be able to really force FPX to fight on our terms. And from that point, he was like, cool, stack them and rack them. Get towards 3 dragons. Make sure that, at least from FPX's perspective, it's really difficult for them to try and use the TP advantage on Nuguri to play towards both Baron, both Dragon, and still keeping pressure on a side lane. So well played by RNG to kind of identify in the long run how they were going to win this game.
Beautifully done by RNG, and that puts them 1-0 in this series. Xiaohu swapped to top lane at the start of the split. We all thought it was hilarious, but it turns out it was a recipe for success.